You know, there's a rule in the deepest parts of our national parks, a rule you won't find in any official guidebook. If you see a staircase in the middle of the woods, you turn around and you walk away. Don't get close. Don't touch it. And whatever you do, you never, ever climb it. For years, these stories have been the stuff of internet legend, modern campfire tales about impossible structures and the poor souls who stumble upon them. But what if the real danger isn't the stairs themselves, but the reason they're showing up in the first place? We're not just talking about internet ghost stories anymore. When we started digging, we found a terrifying pattern of real-world disappearances that internet sleuths have tried to connect to these structures. And the truth we found is far more frightening than any folklore. It's one of the most unsettling images you can conjure up. Picture it. You're miles from civilization, hiking through the dense, quiet wilderness of a national forest. The only sounds are the wind in the leaves and the snap of twigs under your boots. And then, through a gap in the trees, you see it. A staircase, completely alone. It isn't attached to anything. No foundation, no ruins, no sign that a building ever stood there. It just is a flight of stairs, leading straight to nowhere. Sometimes they're described as ancient and crumbling, covered in moss. Other times they're said to be weirdly pristine, with clean carpets and polished banisters, looking completely untouched by the weather. This is the heart of the Stairs in the Woods mystery, a story that crawled out of the darkest corners of the internet and into our collective nightmares. It all started with whispers on forums, spreading like wildfire through viral images and first-hand accounts that are as compelling as they are terrifying. The stories are always a little different, but they all give you the same feeling. A deep, primal sense of wrongness. The feeling that you've stumbled upon something you were never meant to see. Hikers report a strange, unnatural silence falling around the stairs, as if the birds and insects have just vanished. Others describe a heavy feeling of dread, a wave of nausea, or that unshakable sensation of being watched by unseen eyes. This isn't just one story. It's a sprawling, crowdsourced mythology. It's our generation's campfire tale, told not around a flickering flame, but through the blue glow of millions of screens. The legend has become so powerful that it's blurred the line between creepy fiction and a genuine mystery. It even inspired a season of the horror series Channel Zero, which brought the unsettling image of stairways in a park to a global audience. But to understand what's really happening, you have to go back to the very beginning. You have to go back to the source. Back in August 2015, a user named Search and Rescues started posting on a specific Reddit forum called r/no sleep. Now, to get the context here, you need to know what r/no sleep is. It's a creative writing community for original horror stories. But with one brilliant rule, everyone pretends the stories are true. Commenters and authors all stay in character, creating this totally immersive storytelling experience. The stories are fiction, but they're presented as real, first-hand accounts. The author, a writer named Carrie Hammond, took on the persona of a search and rescue officer for the U.S. Forest Service. In a series of incredible posts, this officer shared the strangest and most unsettling things he'd supposedly seen on the job. He told stories of disappearances that defied all logic. A little boy who vanished as his family watched, his sister saying he was taken by a bear man with a weird face. A young woman who climbed a tree for a better view and just never came down. These tales were chilling enough on their own, grounding the supernatural and the very real dangers of SAR operations. But then, he introduced the stairs. In his second post, the SAR officer described them as a routine, if unspoken, part of the job. And I quote, "I don't know if this is true in every SAR unit, but in mine, it's sort of an unspoken regular thing we run into. On just about every case where we're really far into the wilderness, I'm talking 30 or 40 miles. At some point we'll find a staircase in the middle of the woods. It's almost like a landmark." He explained that as a rookie, he'd ask about them. But the veteran officers would just shut him down, telling him not to worry about it. The advice was simple and absolute. Ignore them. Don't go near them. Don't touch them. And don't climb them. He shared a story from another officer about finding a staircase with the missing person they were searching for at the top. The person was just standing there, and when the officer got closer, he saw that their head was gone. Not ripped off, but cut cleanly, as if by a massive blade. These stories were a sensation. They were so well written, blending the procedural details of rescue work with a creeping cosmic horror. They created the entire canon for the staircase legend. The idea that these weren't just weird ruins, but points of contact with something twisted and unknowable, something that plays by its own bizarre rules. The posts from search and rescues were the spark, and the internet was the kindling. Soon, the mythology took on a life of its own. Once the legend was out there, the stories came pouring in from all over the world. Thousands of supposed eyewitness accounts now fill forums and social media, each adding a new, terrifying detail to the folklore. And while these are just stories part of the internet urban legend, they share some unnervingly similar patterns. One popular account tells of a hiker in the Appalachian Mountains who wandered miles off the trail and found a perfect cast-iron spiral staircase winding up a massive dead oak tree. As he got closer, he said the air grew heavy and cold. He pulled out his phone to snap a picture, but the battery, which was at 80% a second ago, was totally dead. He felt this sudden, overwhelming urge to climb, a pull he described as almost physical. He fought it, turned his back, and just ran. When he finally burst back onto the main trail, what felt like a few minutes later, he checked the time. Over 3 hours had passed. He'd lost a whole chunk of his day, with no memory of where it went. Another story, one that's been retold countless times, is about a group of friends camping in the Pacific Northwest. They found a wide, carpeted staircase in a clearing, looking like it was ripped right out of a grand old mansion. As a joke, one of them ran up the stairs. His friend said that when he got to the top, he just stood there smiling with a blank expression. They called to him, but he didn't answer. When he finally walked back down, they said he was different, quiet, withdrawn. In the weeks that followed, he became paranoid, telling his parents that the man from the top of the stairs was watching him. He was eventually institutionalized. Maybe the most common thread in all these tales is the sensory stuff. The stairs are often found in a bubble of complete and unnatural silence. People report intense pressure in their ears and then total quiet, like they're in a soundproof room. This is often paired with feelings of extreme nausea and vertigo, even on solid ground. Within the lore, some people connect these spots to Native American legends about spiritual gateways or old European myths about five paths places, where the veil between our world and another is dangerously thin. These tales, whether you think they're fact or fiction, are the engine that drives the whole phenomenon. They're the reason a weird picture of some old stairs can spark such a powerful sense of fear. They've built a world with its own rules, its own monsters, and its own victims. This is usually where the story ends, with a spooky tale and a question mark. But we wanted to find the real reason, or to peel back the layers of internet fiction and see if there was anything solid underneath. So, our investigation didn't start with ghost stories. It started with logical, real-world explanations. And the truth is, a lot of the stairs in the woods photos are somewhat explainable. 100 years ago, it was pretty common for people to build homesteads deep in what are now national forests. Entire communities existed that have since been reclaimed by nature. The wooden parts of the houses, the walls, the floors, the roofs, have long since rotted away and turned back into soil. But the foundations and staircases, which were often built from stone, brick, or early concrete, are much tougher. What you're left with, a century later, is a flight of stairs standing alone in the forest, the last ghost of a home that's completely vanished. You can see this for yourself in places like the Madame Sherry Forest in New Hampshire, where the ruins of an elaborate stone staircase are all that's left of a fancy 1920s castle. In fact, many of the most popular viral images have been debunked. They turn out to be forgotten art installations, known ruins photographed from a spooky angle, or in some cases just outright digital hoaxes. So, case closed, right? It's all just old houses and internet tall tales? Well, not quite. Because while logical explanations and debunking cover many of the photos, they don't explain the power of the legend itself. Why do these stories feel so real to so many people? And this is where the legend gets its dark energy, by attaching itself to a very real, very terrifying phenomenon, the hundreds of people who go missing in our national parks. The National Park Service even has a public website dedicated to cold cases. People like Paul Fugate, a ranger who went for a short hike on a familiar trail in 1980 and was never seen again. Or Dennis Martin, a 6-year-old boy who vanished in the Great Smoky Mountains in 1969 during a game of hide-and-seek. A massive search found zero trace of him. Now, To be absolutely crystal clear, there is no official report, no police record, and no credible investigation that has ever linked a mysterious staircase to any of these disappearances. That idea is pure speculation, created on internet forums. But it's this blending of folklore with real-life tragedy that makes the legend so chilling. The stories of supernatural stairs might be fiction, but they could be a distorted echo of a much more tangible danger. A danger that's been hidden just beneath the surface of our national parks for over a century. The real reason for the most unsettling staircase sightings probably isn't paranormal. It's not a portal, and it's not a monster's hunting ground. The truth is industrial, it's historical, and it has been secretly buried beneath our feet for 100 years. The most convincing theory is that many of these stairs to nowhere aren't leading up, but down. Down into the thousands upon thousands of abandoned mines that scar our public lands. Before these areas were protected parks, many were sites for intense mining. From coal in Appalachia to gold and other minerals out west, companies dug tens of thousands of shafts and tunnels, chasing or deep into the earth. When a mine was no longer profitable, it was just abandoned. The wooden buildings on the surface rotted away, but the entrance is sometimes a vertical shaft. Other times a concrete-lined staircase leading down into the dark remained. The National Park Service estimates there could be tens of thousands of abandoned mine features in Death Valley National Park alone. This theory provides a chillingly logical explanation for all the strangeness in the legend. That overwhelming dread, nausea, and confusion? It's a textbook symptom of exposure to what's called bad air. Abandoned mines can fill up with deadly, odorless gases like methane and carbon monoxide. Or they can become pockets of oxygen-deficient air. By the time you start to feel sick and dizzy, it might already be too late to get out. Some geologists even point to infrasound low-frequency sound waves created by wind blowing over the deep shafts, which is known to cause feelings of anxiety and dread in humans. That unnatural silence, the weird acoustics of a deep open shaft can absorb and deaden sound. It's creating a bubble of quiet that would feel deeply wrong in a living forest. And the disappearances? This is the most terrifying part. An overgrown mine shaft can be nearly invisible. A person could easily fall, vanishing without a trace. Someone curious about a weird staircase leading into a hillside might venture inside, only to get lost in an unmapped maze of tunnels or pass out from the toxic air. A rescue mission would turn into a recovery, and if the body was never found, it would just become another unsolved case. Another person who walked into the woods and was swallowed whole. Even the stories of pristine staircases could fit this theory. One speculative idea suggests that during the Cold War, secret government projects built hidden bunkers in remote areas, sometimes using old mine networks. It's plausible that some modern-looking structures are just abandoned access points to these forgotten relics. The stairs aren't a door to another world, or a door to the forgotten industrial underworld right below our feet. So, in a way, the legend is both true and false. The viral stories of portals and monsters are almost certainly fiction, dreamed up by a creative writer and supercharged by the internet, but the stairs themselves, they're real. Some are just the ghosts of old homesteads. But the most dangerous ones, the ones that might be the true source of the folklore's darkness, are something else entirely. They are tombstones. They are markers for deep, dangerous, and forgotten places that were never meant to be found again. So, the original rule still stands. If you see a lone staircase in the woods, turn around and walk away. Not because a demon will get you, but because you might be standing on the edge of a place from which there is no return. A place that has been waiting silently in the dark, hungry for the curious and the unwary. The woods keep their secrets, and some of the most terrifying ones aren't legends, but the history we chose to bury. So what do you believe is the real story here? Are these stairs relics of forgotten history, the product of folklore, or something else entirely? Let us know your theory in the comments, and if you want to explore more unexplained mysteries, make sure you subscribe.